Well, it is exactly 9 p.m. this particular Wednesday, the 6th of December 2023. A day when Treasury CS Professor Njuguna Ndung'u says they are working around the clock to ensure that they can be able to disburse the CDF funds amid a standoff members of Parliament. Remember, yesterday the session at the National Assembly had to be called off because legislators were complaining regarding to the disbursement of CDF funds, especially at a time when they are just about to go on recess, with the schools set for reopening in January next year. Now again, the CS said the government is running low on cash, and that the government despite the taxes and all that, the government has not met its revenue goals this year. That being the reason as to why the disbursement of CDF funds has been late. Now, question is, will the government be able to get or accrue more funds to be able to disburse the funds on time, or rather in time? Now, that among many other stories on this particular bulletin. First of all, let's have a look at what's making headlines.
We believe this process of sudden change of printer, hacking the exam system, and having them printed on a short notice are responsible for the disaster we have witnessed with respect to Kcpe.
Tonight on The Insight, exams were compromised right from the printing point, says Azimio leader Raila as he writes to DCI over integrity of the Kcpe exam. Public coffers are running low on cash, says Treasury CS Professor Njuguna Ndung'u, assuring that the government is committed to resolving NG-CDF funds.
I want to tell the independent bodies like the EACC not to allow themselves to be used.
Na sisi tutafuatilia kama jamii, na hatutawacha yeyote, hatutawacha huyu mama asurutishwe.
And blame game continues over the arrest of Controller of Budget Margaret Nyakango, with UDA allied legislators blaming EACC for Nyakango's woes. Welcome to the program. I am Ian Keitani. Our sign language interpreter is Felista Adindo. Remember, you can watch this particular bulletin on our Facebook and YouTube pages at Lookuptv. Let's start the bulletin. And opposition leader Raila has today criticized the Kenya Kwanza administration for contracting an incapable company to manage the Kenya Certificate of Primary Education, that leading to errors witnessed in this year's results. Odinga further alleged that the government had discontinued a company that had been printing the exams after assuming power.
We have established that early this year, the Kenya Kwanza administration suddenly and abruptly stopped this contract because the UK company refused to give kickbacks.
Opposition Chief Raila has claimed the Kenya Kwanza administration irregularly awarded a lucrative tender for the printing of the Kcpe examinations to a local firm that lacked capacity after suddenly terminating the contract that Kenya had entered with a UK-based security printing firm called Austin Printing Limited.
The government was advised that the Mombasa Road-based company did not have the capacity to print the exams and also ensure its security and integrity, especially on such a short notice. Nobody would budge because there were kickbacks involved. We are aware that the Mombasa Road company then had to outsource the exam printing services from a company based in India, where the exams were printed in a hurry.
Further, Raila alleged that the government also discontinued a communication service provider in the country from the tender of the transmitting examination results, and hence confusion surrounding the results transmitted via an SMS.
You have today taken an unprecedented step and written to key education stakeholders for a partnership to secure and defend the integrity of the Kenyan exams and the certification that accrues from it. We have taken these steps out of a firm belief that once we allow education and exam systems to be caught up in tender wars, then we have no country to talk about. It is a universally accepted principle that collapse of education system is the collapse of a nation.
In addition, Raila went ahead to blast Education Cabinet Secretary Ezekiel Machogu for what he called failure to maintain the standards set by his predecessors in the ministry, further calling for a probe into the examination printing and marking process.
Our young people joke darkly whether their colleagues have Professor Jacob Kaimenyis, Dr. Fred Matiangis, or Professor George Magoha's exam grades. Today, the young people are struggling with the value of Mr. Ezekiel Machogu's grades.
John Matava, Lookuptv.
CS, that is Professor Njuguna Ndung'u, has revealed that the national coffers have run low on cash and there is nothing in store for the National Government Constituency Development Fund Kcpe meant for the MPs. Njuguna noted that Kenya has experienced two extreme and disastrous situations within a span of a year, exhausting funds allocated to the NG-CDF. Stanley Lugaria now reports.
Appearing before the Departmental Committee on Finance and National Planning, CS Ndung'u stated that Treasury is undergoing troubles with salaries payment and arrears, pleading with the lawmakers to observe patience even as they threatened to abscond sessions over the funds are not being released, even as they intend to break for the festive and long recess to their respective constituencies.
You know, we have to understand, you know, it is our country, dear members, and we have to understand. I narrated the whole situation. We had a big session where I said, in 1 year, Kenya has gone into two extremes. There's a severe drought, and now there is El Nino. In both cases, we have reallocated budget, a supplementary budget, and recurrent budget, and even development budget to save lives in both cases.
Yesterday, plenary could not go on as scheduled after MPs decided to skip sessions until the disbursement had been executed by the Treasury.
Statement is not correct, and I would not want to come here to teach because that is, it has no even basis. I just need your protection.
You come here to make us understand.
That is what I'm going to. That's what I'm going to do. That's what I'm going to do. But it is not warfare, my friend.
Yes.
It's not warfare.
Cool.
I would want to go through. Listen, I would like to go through the logic of what is done slowly. Let's not fight. It is not a war because we will invite people who actually do it. Thank you, Chairman.
Njuguna was tasked to explain whether withdrawal from the consolidated funds was done procedurally, approval of the allocation of fuel subsidy, the fraud allegations surrounding East African Development Fund and cryptocurrency.
Recently, there was a mutual evaluation of Kenya by the Eastern, this is on anti-money laundering and combating financing of terrorism. And one of the major recommendations was that we need to take as a country a policy decision on how to regulate virtual assets and virtual asset service providers, and these are the terms that are used for cryptocurrencies.
Committee sought to understand difference between stabilization and subsidy, as claimed by the CS, even as fuel prices continue to rise, as he revealed that the country's subsidy for the fuel stood at 63 billion shillings before stoppage, and after a payment of 20 billion shillings, now stands at 43, currently being paid as a debt.
What you also look at is cross-stabilization across prices. That's something that what is the objective? The objective in most of the analysis that we do is to make sure that diesel prices, which is going to hurt, it's both an input and it's also the public transport. The transport system is going to be affected.
Stanley Lugaria, Lookuptv.
Now, this standoff comes at a time when the NG-CDF board CEO, that is Yusuf Mbuno, admitting to the MPs that only 10 billion of the intended 44 billion had been released to the CDF as CDF funds, that leaving a deficit of around 34.2 billion. Now, moving forward, the Kenya Kwanza legislators, led by majority whip, that is Sylvanus Osoro, have come to the defense of the Controller of Budget, Margaret Nyakango, after she was arrested on charge yesterday. The legislators, led by Osoro, blame EACC for being used politically, with Raila Odinga raising concerns over her arrest.
The Controller of Budget found herself in unfamiliar territory after she was arrested yesterday and arraigned before court, with leaders from both sides of the political divide coming to her defense. Addressing the media today, UDA allied legislators led by the majority whip Silvana Sosoro castigated those behind the arrest of Nyakango, while blaming some individuals in the Uhuru regime for Nyakango's woes.
On Margaret Nyakango, call it whichever name you want to call it, but we will tell you today, as people also support the president, that this is total witch hunt. There is completely nothing criminal. In as much as the matter is in court, and one would say that we are engaging or swimming in the waters of sub judice, that is neither here nor there. We are not discussing the content of the case.
Na sisi tunajua kuna watu ambao walikuwa katika ile serikali nyingine ambao ndio labda wanataka kufanya njama fulani, kwa sababu kuna wakati ambao huyu mama alisimama na akasema aliekewa bunduki kwa kichwa ili aweze kuidhinisha mambo fulani.
Osoro slammed the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission for being used to settle political scores, insisting that neither the president nor his deputy were involved.
To tell the independent bodies like the EACC not to allow themselves to be used to settle some, I don't know whether it's political scores or it could be some, personal interests.
Nyakango's tribulations began after she questioned the rate of taxation in the country, as well as questioning why her salary was inflated 3 times in the government budget.
How the high taxation has contributed to capital flight. This was raised by one of the chairs, and indeed we have seen high taxation leading to high prices.
With those in Nyakango's defense coming from both sides of the political divide, Azimio Supremo Raila questioned Nyakango's arrest, noting that her woes began after she started exposing the misappropriation of funds within the government.
This lady is actually being witch hunted because of the stand that she's taken. Because recently when she appeared before the bilateral team at Bomas and talked about inflation of salaries, that her own salary had been inflated in the budget more than 3 times.
Kcpe, Lookuptv.
Remember, Margaret Nyakango was released on a cash bail of Kenya shillings 500,000. Now, moving forward, 5 more people have died from El Nino floods in the last 24 hours, bringing the death toll to 165, beg your pardon. The floods, which have wreaked havoc on vital infrastructures across the country, has affected accessibility to the affected areas, hindering relief efforts by the government.
Lakini hii inakuonyesha kwamba athari za mafuriko ni kubwa mno katika Tana River. Na leo tumekuja katika kijiji cha Wema ambacho ni kijiji sasa hivi kimekuwa cut off. Huwezi toka kijiji hichi wewe kama huna boti. Kama huna ndege huwezi kufika hapa. Sisi imebidi tutumie boti zaidi ya nusu saa, madakika 45 kutoka barabara ya Lamu kufika hapa. Na tuna uwezo huo kama mashirika na viongozi. Yule mwananchi wa chini atafika vipi hapa ama atatoka vipi? Kwa hiyo tumeona kwamba kuna vijiji Hewani, Wema na Kulesa ambao ni vijiji ambavyo sasa hivi kuvifikia ni mtihani mkubwa sana. Pengine wao watasema nyumba zao ziko juu, lakini chakula ni tatizo kubwa sana hapa. Kile chakula ambacho pengine wako nacho kinaweza wasukuma labda siku 3-4 zijazo. Ikifikia hapo then tutakuwa tuna tatizo jingine mbali na maji sasa, kwamba kuna mafuriko, lakini kutakuwa na uhaba wa chakula katika sehemu hii. Tayari ukizunguka tu hapo unaona bei zimeanza kupanda, kwa sababu gharama ya kuleta vyakula huku inakuwa ni kubwa mno, kwa sababu boti zinahitaji mafuta na hakuna boti hizo.
Now, on to matters of security, and the government will, of course, rehabilitate schools that are abandoned due to insecurity posed by bandit attacks in West Pokot County. While visiting Cheptulal Boys Secondary School, Interior CS Kithure Kindiki say the government is keen on ensuring learning resumes.
The Cabinet Secretary Interior Security goes through and peruses some of the books as he moves from one class to the next, rekindling memories of students who used to school here.
Shule zilifungwa, watoto wakatoroka, wazazi wakatoroka kwa sababu ya shida hii ya magaidi na wezi wa mifugo ambao wamekuwa wakiua wananchi na kuwaibia mali yao. Hizi katika kaunti hizi zote kuna shule ambazo zimeathirika.
Kindiki takes out this reference book and jots down his signature as a seal of his promise that education shall resume fully in the Rift Valley region.
And we will also be commencing other measures, including the setting up of additional security establishments in this area, as well as also engaging with the Teacher Service Commission for the deployment of teachers so that our children can learn and be safe when they come back in January.
Addressing the media, however, the CS gave a stern warning to persons planning to sabotage their plan through baseless terms, saying that for this to work, the residents must agree to surrender their ammunitions.
But what we are not going to allow is any person trying to meddle with the security operations or trying to direct operational matters, including the operations of the National Police Reserve. If you do not fall in the category of people who are authorized to carry firearms, you must surrender those firearms. You've given a lot of time, and we are not in a hurry to move into the next phase of forcible disarmament because it's inevitable.
Additionally, to augment security at the border, the training of 205 National Police Reservists shall commence tomorrow at Chester Teachers College grounds in Sigor constituency.
Kuanzia kesho tumeidhinisha mpango wa wale maofisa wa ziada wa polisi 205 kutoka ambao watafanya kazi chini ya usimamizi wa vikosi vya usalama hapa vya polisi na vile jeshi la taifa ambao linaendelea na operation hapa ya kuleta usalama.
Ruga Ival, Lookuptv.
They say education is the only equalizer, and it is only fair that students in those parts of the country can be able to get back to class and be on the same, or rather at par with each and every student across the country. On that particular note, we take our first break. We'll be back in a moment. Don't go away.
Infinity Industrial Park is one of the largest private industrial parks located along Eastern Bypass, Nairobi, which provides modern infrastructure for smooth operations for industries and business enterprises. Infinity Industrial Park offers world-class amenities and facilities with wide roads, a police station, a power substation, fire station, public transport stage, hospital, and shopping mall. In addition, Infinity Industrial Park also offers CCTV cameras, 24-hour private armed security patrol, sewer, water, fiber optic cable, and 3-phase power connection, added to public utility, canteen, and dining areas. Sail on the golden opportunity to invest in Infinity Industrial Park, fully serviced warehouses at a special price of 3,569 Kenyan shillings per square foot. For more inquiries, visit our website infinityindustrialpark.com.
What about mambo fantastic if not scholastic? Chota kuchota na heti ya supermarket imerudi. Ukifanya tu shopping ya shilingi 1,000, wewe unaingia kwa promotion ya chota kuchota na heti ya supermarket. Watu wanaendelea kushinda ndani ya heti ya supermarket. What? Kitoko. Hey, wewe na umeshinda nini?
yote. Hamsa, nalala.
Karibu ndani ya Kcpe supermarket uweze kuchota kwa wingi kabisa. Watu wanasema nini? Nakwambia kwamba chota kuchota. Unangoja nini?
Magari 7 za kushindaniwa, TV, fridge, microwave, shopping vouchers, school fees vouchers, instant prizes na zawadi zingine kemkem. Chota kuchota imethaminiwa na Hetias, Oven Fresh Bakery, Gigabyte, Mount Kenya Milk, Clover's Food Products, Velvet, Magic Drink, Pwani Oil, Arenco, Fruit Juice, Masterchef, Toilex, Coolsip, Mika, Wash Ultra, Philos, Prestol, Nivea, My Choice, Ushindi, Fresh Fry, Arimis Jelly, Cabernet Water, Dettol, Kcpe, Meta, Glucose, Coca-Cola, Rosy Tissue, Big Giant, Elbins, Unilever, Fresh, Unga wa Dola, Blue Band na Pasta Star. Shindano la chota kuchota linaanza tarehe 1 Disemba hadi tarehe 10 Februari mwaka 2024.
Kcpe Supermarket, a world of choice.
Thank you very much for staying with us. As the country gears towards the Christmas and New Year festivities, women parliamentarians have raised concern over an emergence of organized gangs in various parts of the country. They say that the gangs are wreaking havoc, targeting mostly women and children. The women lawmakers are now urging the government to rein in on these gangs to guarantee security this December and early January.
That we are deeply concerned of the resurgence and activation of illegal gangs across the country. We are deeply worried with the activation of groups such as Sinkororo, Mungiki, Al-Shabaab, 42 Brothers. In Kisumu we have the young men in Obunga. In Mombasa we have Wakali Kwanza Kisauni. We have Wajukuu wa Bibi Likoni. And the gangsters and even those bandits are the same group.
Those gangster ambao wameshikana kuterrorize wamama na vijana. Kama kwa wakati huu tunaona hii gangster wanashikana and wanaforce wamama kwa circumcision. Hiyo tumeiona. They are regrouping. Kama ile ilikuwa ya Nakuru. Tena tumeona kijana mdogo wa 15 years kutoka Naivasha. Juzi walienda kwa nyumba wakamtoa, nyinyi mliona ilikuwa kwa social media kila pahali. Wakamchoma kila pahali. Wakamfanya madhara mbaya sana. Na tunasema tukikataa kuongea kwa wakati huu tutakuwa kwa shida sana.
On to matters farming and dairy farmers across the country who supply milk to the new Kenya cooperative creameries have opposed the move by the state to privatize the company. The farmers have complained that the new plans will burden them. And of course, Ebi Kadenyi gives us more.
Just a few weeks after the government had announced the sale of various parastatals and state corporations with the aims to generate more income for the national exchequer, dairy farmers who supply milk to the new Kenya cooperative creameries have opposed the privatization after the company was named under the 35 companies to be privatized.
KCC now is fully modernized. This is a time whereby the farmers can start reaping. So when we heard about the privatization of new KCC, we were very much shocked. As leaders from North Rift, we are really denying the sale of new KCC.
An association of the farmers led by the national chairman Muchemi Ndiritu, flanked by county chairpersons from other counties, termed the move as ill-advised. Speaking in Nakuru, the officials vowed to strongly fight for the corporation to remain a public entity against the intended privatization.
KCC has been a farmers entity from the word go. And KCC has a lot of assets. And we know for sure there are some people who are already eyeing those assets.
They further pointed out that the revival of the milk processor done by late former President Mwai Kibaki's administration was informed by the suffering of dairy farmers. And therefore, the sale of the new Kenya cooperative creameries will result to a collapse of the dairy sector as the processor plays the role of regulator against unfair private farms.
About a buy of last resort, it's really not about profitability. Even if we break even, that should be good enough because no Kenyan farmer has poured any milk. So when Kibaki brought back new KCC, that was the dream. When the last government also really bought a lot of equipment and revitalized new KCC. Again, that was still the dream.
Ibikadenya, Lookuptv.
Now, Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has defended the recent coffee reforms instituted by the government, dismissing critics' claims that the reforms are punitive. In a meeting with the new United Kingdom High Commissioner to Kenya, that is Neil Wagen, Gachagua extended an invitation to the UK coffee business companies for open discussions on the changes.
Residents in Karen on Wednesday, Gachagua emphasized that coffee reforms are aimed at rescuing coffee subsector from collapse due to sustained low production over the years. He welcomed the opportunity to engage the UK companies.
The people against the reforms have created a narrative that the reforms can stall trade and business. Far from it. What we are saying is that in the 70s and the 80s, coffee, we were doing 241,000 metric tons of coffee in your stuff. And if there is any issue that you think you need some intervention from the presidency to move a little bit faster, to make it easier, to lessen bureaucracy, we are open and we are ready to be at your service.
In response, Neil Wagen expressed appreciation for the strong bilateral relations and emphasized the UK's readiness to strengthen ties in technological advancements, innovation, climate change, and renewable energy. He welcomed efforts to attract both British investors, aiming for balanced trade that benefits both nations.
So we would like to, and in a way the development partner and the aid partnership is important, but we much more want to move into sort of an economic partnership, security partnerships that you talked about, and to be much more focused on how we can deal with challenges together, and where Kenya offers solution to global problems. So climate change, renewable energy, all these things that you're doing more successfully than us. You have a higher percentage of renewable energy than we do. I think there's potential to do really close cooperation.
As the UK stands as one of the leading destinations for Kenya tea and coffee, Deputy President Gachagua reassured that the reforms in this subsector are geared towards enhancing production and ensuring better income for farmers. Martin Masharia, Lookuptv.
Thank you so much.
Now on to some sporting action, and East Africa Handball Championships continued for the fourth day at the Nyayo National Stadium, with the Kenyan teams posting mixed results. In the early kickoff, Kenya Defence Forces lost to Rwanda 32-37 points. Nairobi Waters played to a 37 draw against Nkaja of Uganda. GSU overcame Evergreen 36-21 points.
Ya kimombo si so, hakuna rais.
Now, the English Premier League continues tonight with 6 matches scheduled to be played. Now, Brighton battle Brentford at American Express Community Stadium. Crystal Palace dance with Bournemouth at the Selhurst Park. Fulham take on Nottingham Forest with a hope of turning last weekend's defeat against Liverpool. On the other hand, Jurgen Klopp's side Liverpool travel to Bramall Lane to battle Sheffield United. Reigning champions Manchester City take on Aston Villa at Villa Park before Manchester United welcome the Blues Chelsea at Old Trafford. Of course, as a Manchester United fan, I really look forward to that particular game. And, of course, my director, James Momanyi, supports Chelsea. But I have bad news for you tomorrow. We'll meet here, and I know you'll be, of course, evading me every minute because you're about to see dust today. Now, on that note, I'd like to say thank you to everybody who made sure this happened. From my producer, Nancy Nelima, James Momanyi, James Kinywa, of course, Alvin Thuo, and Orondo here, together with my sign language interpreter, Felista Adundo. Until tomorrow, do you have yourself a lovely evening, and like always, God bless.